I've already soloed a dungeon in Destiny without ever taking damage. But what if instead, I soloed one without ever using my weapons? Ability only dungeons have been done before, I've even done a couple myself over on my Twitch channel. But the newest dungeon, Vesper's Host, is probably the hardest one Bungie has ever released. Is it even possible if you never use your weapons? Well, let's find out. Typically when doing ability-only dungeons, I prefer to use Prismatic Warlock with Getaway Artists. The Arc Soul and Bleakwatcher turrets work pretty great as substitutes for guns, dealing tons of damage and building Transcendence very fast. And with Devour, I basically always have my grenade up. Arcane Needles also work great for mechanics that require you to shoot things such as the Nodes Inspire or the Bells in Duality. And Song of Flame is one of the highest total damage supers in the entire game. Due to all of this, I actually did start Vesper's Host on Warlock, but there was a huge problem. Raynix. Without guns, Warlock really doesn't have a great way of dealing with this boss. Keep in mind that I was doing this challenge before ignitions were fixed, so this is a phase using what I think is the best strat on Warlock without using weapons. After this, I tried Nova Bomb with Star Eaters, but the damage was still pretty miserable. I knew that Titan could easily 3-phase this boss just using Glacial Quake with Star Eaters, so it was at this point I decided to change tack over to Titan. Let's talk about the build we'll be running on Titan. For the majority of the dungeon, I used Prismatic Titan with a Spirit of the Inmost and Syntheseps class item. Inmost helps me get more abilities to build Transcendence, and Syntheseps makes my Consecrations do more damage. Transcendence is the soul of this run, as it effectively gives me infinite abilities to make up for not having a weapon. This is also why it's crucial that I use Glacier Grenades, since I don't have any other way of building Dark Transcendence energy. I'll also use Star Eaters for Raynix, and Curus for the final boss, but we'll talk about those when we get to them. With our loadout and class chosen, let's get into the dungeon. Wait, one more thing that I know a ton of you will ask. Why don't you use Wrist Runner or a lightweight frame weapon? Personally, I think benefiting from the damage reduction or movement speed from a weapon's exotic perk or frame, to some degree, is using that weapon. I know it's a little pedantic, but that's just how I feel. Also, if you're wondering, I'm using 3 fusion rifles so that in case I accidentally bump my left click, I won't immediately ruin my run. The first part is easy enough. Just scan the panels and then... wait. How are we going to shoot the panels? This was a question I got asked a few times, but the answer's pretty simple. Punching the panels will be a little annoying at times, but for the most part actually solves the mechanics side of things for the rest of the dungeon. Other than Operator, the mechanics in this dungeon don't really rely on using guns, so everything else like Suppressor and the Nuclear Cores are the same as they would be in a typical run. In fact, in all honesty, a lot of this dungeon will be very easy. That is, until we get to the final boss. With the first encounter cleared on my very first attempt of it, it was on to the transition, which again, is basically exactly how it is in a normal solo. The only annoying part here will be the integration mechanic, but that's just normal Vesper's Host things, nothing new here.
The oil feels incredible, I won't lie.
Now we're at Raynix. This encounter is super heavy on the ad clear and really showcases our build's looping capabilities with Transcendence and the Inmost class item. One of the tricky things about Raynix in a regular solo flawless is these Exploder Shanks. These Shanks are really fast, can sneak up on you very easily, and can kill you from super far away. They're especially bad here as well, since our main source of damage is technically a melee ability. I found that the Transcendent Grenade was spectacular for dealing with these guys, but even still, the Exploder Shanks were by far the scariest part of this encounter. All that being said, I was able to avoid them here on my first run through, and remember that Rainix damage is why we switched to Titan in the first place, so this guy went down easily with a few right clicks on our Star Eater's buffed Glacial Quake. Just look how much damage I'm doing compared to Warlock. Now remember how we were going to do a full run before starting the actual Flawless attempts? Well, when I said the only real hard part of this was going to be the final boss, I wasn't kidding.
Nice. Wait, we're flawless, right? Are we flawless? Oh shit, man. Oh shit, man. No pressure, lock it in.
12 seconds later.
Yeah, that didn't last long. I knew I had a long way to go until I was ready to do the final boss Flawless anyway, so I kept going and did my first attempt on the final boss. This wasn't a bad first attempt, but we obviously still had a long way to go. The typical Titan strat on this boss is to use Anarchy and Lost Signal as damage over time, while clearing out all of the replications to build back Thunder Crash. Heroes of the Falling Star makes melee kills while amplified give bonus super energy, so if you play it right, you can get a whole 3 supers off in just one damage phase. Since I can't use weapons, this strat becomes substantially weaker, because my only damage is with Thunder Crash. Not only that, building my super back is much harder, since I don't have Anarchy and Lost Signal constantly giving me super energy. So getting off 3 Thunder Crashes would be almost impossible. Because of this, I decided to Thunder Crash initially on Curious for the extra damage, then swap over to Inmost Synthos and consecrate the boss, while simultaneously dealing with the replications.
That's gonna be my nuts. Oh.
As the damage phase goes on, building back Transcendence became one of the most important things to make sure I always had my abilities up.
I mean, that damage is undeniable.
Learning this damage phase was definitely the hardest part of this entire challenge, but I'm glad I put in the time to master it. My ultimate goal for this boss was to do it in 5 phases, which I thought was pretty reasonable given I wasn't using guns. This boss has roughly 16 million health, so in order to 5 phase, I would need a little over 3 million damage per phase.
I was fine, no? I was cooking! I'll leave these blokes up. Yes, this is big, this is big. Oh, wait, now this is a problem. Where are my abilities, dog? Where's my dick? What do I do, man? I'm just not getting my shit back.
One of my viewers, Sir Lawrence, mentions that Thunder Crashing the boss after Glacier Grenading could give back a ton of Transcendence energy. So, in the next run, I did this.
Okay, the Glacier Grenade, Thunder Crash, actually did give me a fuck ton of Transcendence.
Glacier Grenading a boss instead of the replications was a huge improvement for getting back Dark Transcendence energy, and Thunder Crash was basically guaranteed to fill the entire Light Transcendence bar. With this new information, I was finally starting to get a rhythm for the damage phase, and after a lot more attempts, fails, and a break, I was able to hit this damage.
I cooked, man. Surely that's 3.5. Like, surely. Oh my god, it's 3.9. Oh my god, dude. Oh, I can fight face the boss, man. Let's go. We're starting the runs, chat. We're starting the runs.
The damage phase was hard to play, but with the practice I'd put in, along with this almost 4 million damage phase, I was confident enough to start the full attempts. My first day of attempts was rough. You see, one of the mechanics that I didn't talk about when we were going through the dungeon was this timer right here. After finishing the panels in each area in the first encounter, you need to deposit the... Wait, go back.
Oh, I forgot to put away fucking operator. Oh.
You see, the operator buff has a timer that when it hits 0, it kills you.
I forgot about operator again.
It's safe to say the attempts were not off to a great start, but I was still confident.
I might be beating the allegations.
No, my boy!
Father hell. Fucking hell, man.
Yeah. Well, once I remembered how to deposit the buff and stopped throwing the nukes off the map, the encounter was a piece of cake, and it was on to Rainix. The transition here, as I said before, is super easy, and I would never lose a run to...
That's going straight to Twitter, bro. That is going straight to fucking Twitter. That is insane.
Sometimes I forget what game I'm playing. Thank you, the integration mechanic, for reminding me that this is indeed Destiny 2. Remember how I cleared Rainix on my very first try, and remember how I talked about those exploder shanks? Well, here's my very first official flawless attempt to Rainix.
Dude!
Funnily enough, I actually beat Rainix on my very next attempt, but don't worry, that wasn't the last time we'll be seeing those exploder shanks. With only 4 deaths and all of that final boss practice under my belt, this was shaping up to be one of my shortest challenges yet. Not.
Dude!
This was a super greedy wipe. I wasted my melees not going for the replication with the nuke, then instead of just taking the L and leaving damage early, I ran straight into lightning. No worries though, getting to the final boss this early has to be a good sign, right?
Dude, fuck, man!
Okay, so not great, but we got to the final boss again on the next attempt, as you can see. So if I just lock it in, stick to the game plan, and don't get 10 stacks of radiant...
Fuck's sake, man!
Hi, how are you?
Boom.
What? There's no way.
I think it's safe to say, the attempts on day 1 were really getting to me. And when I got to the final boss for the 3rd time, this happened.
I like this dungeon. Apart from all the fucking bugs. So it's good. I like it. Yeah, except, yeah. When that happens as well. Ah, dude. That is so insane, man. Oh, I think I'm gonna call it. I'm just not having fun.
So that wrapped up the first day of attempts, with almost all of my wipes either being to Explodeshanks or forgetting my buff timer on first encounter. I was pretty down about the runs, but that didn't stop me from getting back on the horse the very next day.
Yesterday was such a bad day. I thought I had enough sleep. I did not. I think anyone in chat could tell I was not having a good time.
I was ready for the clear.
I'm gonna be super alert of my operator boss today, guys. I'm not dying to a single operator buff.
No more forgetting the timer, no more silly mistakes. It was time to get some final boss attempts.
No! Aww.
Yeah, look, I didn't say I was going to finish it in the first attempt or anything. After this wipe though, I made it back to the final boss, but the run went down to some pretty unfortunate geometry in the boss arena.
I'm dead as fuck. Dude, where is my consecration? Oh my god. That terrain just fucked me, man.
This was pretty unfortunate, but on the bright side, it was another final boss wipe. I was actually getting to the final boss pretty consistently, and I knew it was only a matter of time before I brought it home. A matter of time and some pretty hard to watch boss wipes.
No! No! No, man. No, man. No. Dude, where's my super? Where is my super? Like, I don't understand. Before, when I was doing this, I would get my super before I did the nuke. Now I can't even get it afterwards. Like, here's lightning. Here's lightning. In front of me's lightning. And then, dude. Where do I go? 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 Please, where do I go? Where do I go?
I'd hit rock bottom. This wipe had me molding for the entirety of first encounter. For those of you wondering, I actually really like the design of the final boss, but this wipe showed that even the smallest lapse in judgment can cost an almost hour-long run. I was frustrated, but it was mainly at myself for getting cocky and not just sticking to the plan. I went into the next attempt with that wipe replaying over and over again in my head. I was not going to make that mistake again. I vented my frustrations, cleared my head, and locked it in.
Let's go, dude! Solid flawless Vesper's host without using my guns! Woo!
What the dog doing?
Yeah! Come on!
And there we have it. Vesper's host without using any weapons. This challenge was definitely very frustrating, but I think that was due to circumstance more than anything. I really do enjoy the problem solving and execution of these ability only dungeons, which is why I've decided to attempt the impossible. I'll be trying to solo flawless every single dungeon in the game, back to back, without using weapons at all. If you want to see that insane challenge unfold and be completed live, make sure you follow my Twitch channel. It'll be the first link in the description. See you guys over there.